Man, we got to start some
Okay.
merch. We may have to start some timeless merch.
Right.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah, definitely.
So knowing is such a foundation, and that's where that rock is found.
Yes.
Knowing what has been done, not what you need to do, but what has been done. We must know. So before we can even bring it into to us, close to us, we have to know what it is. And the knowing is you have died with Christ and you have risen with Christ. And now, and Larry touched on this in this lesson, everything that is Christ's, everything about Christ, except his deity, but everything else that's true for Christ is true for you, even in your earthly state, even now. Whatever is true about Christ in his relationship to God is true for you. You must know that. You must understand the what happened is that you're living differently, that all the grading is gone because you can't get any more righteous than you are right now, and that has to be believed. And that does go into the reckoning a little bit. But so, would you say? Do you have anything to add to the no part, or did I get it?
I can't, yeah, no, I have nothing to add. I can't say it any better. I think that that is right on. Anything I would have to add would just be repeating exactly what you just said.
Okay. So now that we know what has happened to us, Joy, what do we do next?
We reckon, and I will talk about that word. I want to say that a couple days ago, I was out under my tree with my computer and my coffee and my notes and listening to this lesson. And I was thinking, once we decided we were going to go over this know, reckon, yield, and I was going to probably end up doing the reckon part. I was thinking, okay, it might get complicated, and I want to be concise because I don't want a Faithann to have to do a lot of editing. So okay, I'm thinking about the word reckoning and thinking about believing and the word considering, and I could go to Hebrews and I could show that unbelief and disobedience is interchangeable, and I could talk about that. But no, that would be too long, and then Faith Ann would have to cut. And how do I just say it? How do I just say it? Just say what reckon means. And then I thought, just get over it and believe God. that's that's what this it just came out. It just this phrase came out.
Yeah.
I was almost like telling myself and like just get over it and believe God.
Yeah.
So, listeners, we don't ask for donations, but I would sure accept a gift of some sort. Talk about T-shirts. Like, I want a T-shirt. I want a coffee mug. If you feel so led, if someone out there feels so led, get me a coffee cup or something, and just put on it. Just get over it and believe God. So I'll say more about it, but I think that's really what it comes down to.
If Joy gets a coffee cup that says just get over it and believe God, I want a coffee cup that says no, reckon, yield.
Yes.
So you're already there at the shop anyway. You're
Yeah,
getting some design.
Right.
Get me one too.
If you feel so led.
Right. Of course.
Okay, but seriously, so I'll just say a few more things about the reckon part. Before I even asked Daniel to help me out a little bit on the Greek of this word, the root, how reckon is used. I was already thinking about just simply, even in what Dad read, consider. And Faith Ann, like you said before, we've already kind of known growing up when we read that, because we've been through this before with Dad, the Romans, that when we read consider yourself to be dead to sin and alive to Christ, we kind of already know that consider, it's not used in the way that a lot of people use the word consider. It's not a pondering if something is, right or not. It is certain. It's like It's a command. Well, like Dad said, it's the first exhortation. We're exhorted. We must. So Daniel did help me out a little bit. He just showed me some things. This word reckon, how it can be used. It's all basically in the same kind of umbrella. It kind of means one thing, but it has a little bit different flavors depending on the context. So I just have kind of a list, and believe me, it's not like that I'm a Greek scholar or even Daniel's a Greek scholar. He has an app that gave him, these things that looking at the Greek, coming from the Greek, we have for reckon, we have reason about, or keep mental record, or hold a view, or charge to account. And I read a little bit more into that, which is, and I think that charge to account, I think that fits better, more in with how Abraham believed God and it was reckoned to him as righteousness, meaning it was put into his account. It was his faith, believing God, made it be that his account was righteous, not that Abraham became walking around as a righteous man in his own efforts. It's an accounting term.
Right.
That may fit here in 6:11, but then there's another thing that Daniel showed me for 6:11. It's like, I think it was like a translation according to the Greek. According to the Greek, this is what it might read as, which is, you also must regard yourselves. So you also must regard yourselves to be dead to sin. It's like we've said before, to be obedient. We all want to be obedient. How do we be obedient? It's to believe. And like Larry said, God doesn't need his lawn mowed. He needs to be believed. He wants to be believed. So it's getting over it and believing God. God says to us, look at Christ. Look at my son. He is beautiful. He is enough. And the reckoning, and that is more like what you were talking about with the knowing. The reckoning part is our response. We say, yes, yes, Lord, I believe you.
Act as if.
Yes.
So when Annie comes into the mansion, we want Annie to act as if she belongs there, not as if she's the house help, the maid.
Right.
We want her to act as though, and like your analogy of the table, would the queen hide in the basement, or would the queen come and sit right next to the king? They are reckoning. In as much as they do those things is the reckoning. When Annie decides she's going to believe what's happened to her, she's reckoning. And when the queen walks up to the king and says, hey, let's have a toast, she's reckoning. She understands what she's been told, what's happened to her, and now she's acting as if she believes what is true.
Yes, let me add to that, because it sounds like you might be going right into the yielding part, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But let me say, this just occurred to me in all that you said about the King's Table. I wasn't going to bring this up, but that piece that I wrote, the King's Table, that's up and ready. It's on my blog, and the very last sentence, I was having Daniel look at it and help me just get his thoughts, on how does this sound. This goes to exactly what you're saying. So initially, I had something like, set your faith on the place of the most honored seat. Look to that. Set your mind on that. And Daniel gave me a very good revisement on that. And it gets exactly to what you're saying. So now when you read it, it says sit. Not just, look ahead and think about this kind of atmospheric, place that you can just think about in faith. Like sit, actually, like sit in the place, sit in the most honored seat. And that's what you're saying. It's we don't have to pretend. We sit there. We sit in that place for our fellowship.
And the only struggle, so many preachers and teachers will talk about the struggle that we have, but I think our struggle is not so much with sin, it's that we struggle to make what has happened to us the reality, even though what what we see is what we did last night, or how we treated somebody, or the sins that are committed against us by other Christians. But the struggle is that, yes, that is real, but so is I am holy, blameless, and beyond reproach. So, the difference, like struggling, a struggle that says, I got to quit sinning is different than a struggle between seeing something right in front of you and believing that there's a whole nother side, that while, yes, this is true, this is also just as true.
Right. And faith, of course, is trusting in things unseen. I mean, that
Yeah.
is the definition of faith. If we could see it before our eyes, our earthly eyes, then we wouldn't need faith. We could just see it right there. But it doesn't make it not true. I mean, the truest reality is things we can't see. That is the truest reality, are the unseen things.
So now that we know and we are reckoning, we are acting as if the yielding is behaving in a manner that matches who you are. And even that, I'm even hesitant to put it that way. Um, do this now that you are in the mansion. You might eat a little differently. If you're a scruffy orphan who has to fight for every meal, you may slurp your soup, or you may just be a little bit more primal about it. But when you're sitting at the table and there's no end to the amount of food that you can eat, would you eat a little differently? So it might be something. The instructions are, hey, slow down a little bit. Slow down. There's plenty. Act this way because of the reality, not because there's a performance aspect. So yielding is because of who you are. We're a slave to righteousness. So let's enjoy the good works that the Lord has for us, and let's see what the Lord has for us to do. Let's see what the Lord has for us, the way we should act. But again, it
I
we
know.
should act. It's so
Yes.
hard to stop there, because you don't want somebody to be thinking that they should act a certain way to be a good Christian.
Right.
But wouldn't it be better? Wouldn't it be better to search the scriptures to see, now that we're in this new kingdom, what are the rules of this new kingdom? How do we do when we're, like, if we go to France, there's probably things that the French people do differently. Well, let's see what those are. And they're nothing but good. Nothing but good. That's the yielding, is letting yourself completely surrender to what God has for us.